What's up, Dub Nation? Welcome back to the channel where we talk all things Golden State Warriors. And yeah, here we go again. It's officially the NBA offseason. And the biggest storyline surrounding the Dubs right now is none other than Jonathan Kuminga. That's right. Buckle up because the next few weeks could decide his future with the team. The Oklahoma City Thunder just wrapped up the NBA Finals, taking down their opponent in 7 games. And with that, all eyes immediately shift to what's next: free agency, trades, draft moves. And yeah, what's happening with Kuminga? Let's get right into it because there's been a lot coming out lately. Between reports from NBA insiders and comments from Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr., the buzz around Kuminga's restricted free agency is real. And let's just say, the Warriors front office knows they can't afford to sit on their hands too long with this one. Dunleavy recently stepped in front of the media ahead of the draft and made it crystal clear, figuring out Kuminga's future is a priority. The exact words, "It's a main priority heading into free agency," and honestly, that's exactly what Warriors fans wanted to hear. You can't let this drag into late July or August because once teams start finalizing their rosters for next season, the market for a sign-and-trade starts drying up fast. Now let's talk context. The Warriors don't have a ton of assets to make major moves this offseason. Unless Kuminga is involved in a deal, that's just the reality. Mike Dunleavy also threw out there that the Warriors will definitely be in the mix when it comes to trade talks, which was a subtle but telling comment. That basically signals that Golden State is still exploring trade scenarios where Kuminga could be the centerpiece. The only real path they have for a meaningful addition is likely through a Kuminga sign-and-trade. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Just as this whole Kuminga situation was reaching a boiling point, a massive league-shifting trade happened. Kevin Durant is on the move again, now heading to the Houston Rockets. Yeah, you heard that right. Houston went all in, giving up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall pick in this year's draft, and a handful of second-rounders to bring KD to town. That changes everything in the Western Conference. The Thunder are already looking like the new powerhouse after winning the finals. And now Houston's throwing their name into the mix with Durant on board. What does that mean for Golden State? Well, let's just say the pressure to upgrade the roster is officially through the roof. And that brings us back to Kuminga. There's no denying that the easiest and probably the most impactful move the Warriors could make this summer would be a sign-and-trade involving JK, one of the main teams that's been hovering around Kuminga's situation, the Miami Heat. Now, before anyone gets too excited, let's pump the brakes for a second. According to reports from Miami insiders, the Heat aren't exactly pushing all their chips in on Kuminga just yet. In fact, the latest word is that JK has been more of a fallback option for them after missing out on Durant. Miami's front office is kind of licking their wounds right now, reassessing their next steps. A Heat reporter recently mentioned that Miami had the players on their radar: DeMar DeRozan from Sacramento and, of course, Jonathan Kuminga. But the word is that, as of last Sunday, Kuminga hasn't been the main focus of their trade discussions. Still, things change quickly in the NBA. When one door closes like the failed Durant pursuit, you never know how fast another opens. If Miami finds themselves running out of better options, and they still feel the need to add wing depth and athleticism, Kuminga could suddenly become a top priority for them. Now, if the Warriors and Heat were to work something out, the financial mechanics of a sign-and-trade are gonna be tricky. Golden State can only take back half of whatever Kuminga's new salary ends up being. Let's say Kuminga signs a deal starting somewhere between $25 and $30 million per year. That means the Warriors would need to bring back players making between $10 and $15 million to make the math work under NBA rules. Looking at Miami's roster, there are a few names that come to mind. Kyle Anderson, who the Warriors actually sent out in the Jimmy Butler trade, could make sense for a reunion. Then there's Haywood Highsmith, a reliable 3-and-D guy making just over $5 million. Another intriguing option could be Jaime Jaquez Jr., a young forward who had some nice flashes this past season. If the Heat were willing to throw in both Highsmith and Jaquez, that's a deal a lot of Warriors fans would sign up for. Now, if Golden State could somehow pry Nikola Jovic from Miami, a player the Heat were reportedly unwilling and to include in the Durant trade, that would be a home run. But let's be real, that's probably a long shot at this point. Now let's pivot to another team that's very much in the mix for Kuminga, the Chicago Bulls. This is a scenario that's been brewing for a while, way back at the beginning of the offseason, When it became clear that Kuminga's future in Golden State was far from certain, Chicago was one of the first teams to pop up in trade rumors. And those rumors haven't gone away. In fact, they've gotten stronger. Multiple league sources have said the Bulls maintain ongoing interest in the 22-year-old forward. This isn't some new, out-of-nowhere development. The Bulls have been intrigued by Kuminga for a couple of seasons now, dating back to when Golden State and Chicago discussed deals involving players like Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic. Now the big question is, what does Chicago actually have to offer? Well, first, let's address the idea of Vucevic. There were rumblings at the trade deadline that Golden State had some interest. But if the Warriors really wanted him that badly, they could have made a move back then by packaging Gary Payton too. And Kevin Looney, they chose not to, so it's fair to wonder how serious that interest really is now. Other names being floated include Kevin Huerter, who makes around $17 million a year. Not a perfect fit, but someone to watch, but the player that really has Warriors fans buzzing. Kobe White, that's right. The idea of a one-for-one swap, Kuminga for Kobe White, clean, simple, the salaries line up. And Golden State gets a dynamic young guard who can score, handle the ball, and fits the kind of skill set they desperately need alongside Stephen Curry. Personally, I love that idea. If it came down to that, I'd take that deal in a heartbeat. There's also Lonzo Ball's contract to consider. He's making about $10 million. But with his injury history, that would be a risky play. Ayo Dosunmu is another name that's come up, and honestly, I'd be all over that too. Great defender, can shoot it, handles the ball well, and brings toughness. If Chicago is serious about Kuminga, putting together a package with Ayo and maybe another small piece could get the Warriors' attention. Another trade scenario that's been circulating, sending both Kuminga and Moses Moody to Chicago for a combination package. One version has Golden State getting back Vucevic and Ayo along with some draft assets. That's not my favorite deal, but it fills needs and adds depth. And just when you thought things couldn't get wilder, there's now chatter about a possible three-team blockbuster. In this scenario, Chicago lands Kuminga via sign and trade. The Charlotte Hornets jump in and take on Javon Carter from the Bulls. Meanwhile, Golden State gets a little bit of everything. Lonzo Ball, Jalen Smith, Josh Okogie, a protected first-round pick from the Portland Trail Blazers, and for second-rounders. That would give the Warriors size, defense, and future draft capital. Not a bad haul at all, but of course, the real question hanging over all this is, how bad does Chicago really want Kuminga? That's what's going to determine how aggressive they get in trade talks over the next couple of weeks. And look, as much as we're all talking sign and trade possibilities, let's not ignore the growing chance that Kuminga actually stays with the Warriors. Multiple reports over the last few days have said that momentum is building for a Kuminga extension in Golden State. Insiders like Monty Poole and others have pointed out that the Warriors could sign him to a new deal, and even if he's not a long-term piece, that would allow the team to retain full trade value if they decide to move him later. There's a feeling around the league that Golden State's front office doesn't view Kuminga as the next face of the franchise, but they're also not willing to let him walk for nothing. So for now, the most likely outcome seems to be Kuminga re-signing and sticking around, at least for the start of next season. But if Chicago or Miami comes in with a strong enough offer, you never know. This is the NBA offseason after all. Anything can happen. And if the Warriors do find a way to move Kuminga, that opens up all sorts of possibilities. There's already a running list of off-season targets floating around. Names like Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Karis LeVert, Santi Aldama, Nickel Alexander-Walker, DeAnthony Melton, Colin Sexton, Naz Reid, Luke Cornett, Malik Monk, Kem Johnson, and Daniel Gafford have all been linked to the Warriors in one way or another. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The NBA rumor mill is churning once again, and this time, the whispers are coming from the most unlikely of places. The Golden State Warriors' seemingly unshakable foundation. For years, the dynastic success of the Warriors has been synonymous with head coach Steve Kerr. But a growing buzz suggests that his tenure in the Bay Area might be approaching an unexpected crossroads. Sources close to the team, speaking on condition of anonymity, hint at a potential shift in the coaching landscape that could see Kerr depart from the franchise he has led to multiple championships. While no official statements have been made, the murmurings are becoming louder. painting a picture of a possible amicable separation, or perhaps a desire from Kerr for a new challenge. After a decade at the helm, the timing is curious given the team's ongoing efforts to remain competitive in the Western Conference. However, the rigorous demands of sustained success, coupled with the natural evolution of any long-standing partnership, could be contributing factors. One theory floating around is that Kerr, who has always prioritized a balanced lifestyle, might be contemplating a less demanding role, or even a break from the intense pressures of NBA coaching, of course. This is all speculative at this point. The Warriors organization has consistently projected a unified front, and Kerr himself has always expressed deep loyalty to the team and its ownership. Yet, the sheer volume of these whispers, emanating from various corners of the league, makes them hard to ignore. Could this just be the usual off-season chatter, or is there genuine fire behind the smoke? The possibility of a Steve Kerr exit, once unthinkable, is now a topic of hushed conversation, and it's a story that will undoubtedly dominate headlines. As the off-season progresses, stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.